And you've achieved so much at such a young age. Growing up in Tassie, the most unlikely place in the world to develop a world champion, Olympic gold medalist as a swimmer. How did that happen?
Always had pools in the backyard. Don't know why with the weather. But yeah, just always swimming, and decided just to sign up for a local swimming club when I was 7, and it was pretty much the same time the Beijing Olympics were on, and I saw Stephanie Rice win 3 golds.
Oh, wow.
And new into swimming, I was like, that's gonna be me. And that's really where it started, and I just loved it like more than anything.
And you've come in an era of swimming where you've got extraordinary rivals. You can't mention Arnie without Katie Ledecky, and you've had a great respect for your opponents too. You've never seen them as anything apart from good for you. Is that still the case?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Katie kind of paved the way for women's swimming, and I guess I learnt from how she raced and tried to transition that into my swimming. With competitors as well, when I'm behind the blocks, certainly they are my competitor, but as soon as the race is over, I really just look to them as the person they are, because I value that more than who they are as an athlete, and I hope people see that the same with me too.
Now, Arnie, clearly diet's a huge part of your life, and you need to be strict for you being an athlete and a professional. You're conscious of what you eat all the time. Then you add in a food intolerance and finding out you're gluten-free. Can you tell us about that journey for you?
It has been challenging, especially as an athlete. You try to eat quite specific for your training and to fuel as best as you can. The tiniest bit of gluten can cause me to become quite bloated, quite fatigued, which is challenging as an athlete, especially as a swimmer, being in the pool all the time in your togs, and you don't want to, you know, look like that as well. But for me, I think it's just better to avoid it altogether and feel a lot better within myself.
Well, living gluten-free for medical reasons is something you and I share in common, Arnie, and most people think, OK, just don't have a pasta or bread, but it's a bit more complex than that, isn't it? There's gluten in sauces or hidden things that you didn't realise that were there. How challenging has that been for you to try and stay healthy and train well?
I think it's one thing to try and avoid it for training, but also you and I are people who probably do other things like go out and socialise and things like that, and I think that's probably the most challenging part, especially eating out in restaurants where a meal may say that it's gluten-free, but it still might come into contact with something, and there might be a bit of cross-contamination in the kitchen. There's actually one incident. We had the World Championships in Korea in 2019, and we were staying in a village, and there was a lot of food that had sauces and deep fried, and I was just too scared to really touch anything, and so I was living off pretty much plain white rice, baby tomatoes and fried eggs, breakfast, lunch and dinner for 10 days straight. It worked. I mean, I became world champion for the first time, but it's times like that when it can be quite challenging, and you don't want to run the risk of accidentally consuming it, so you just avoid pretty much anything that could contain gluten.
Congratulations partnering with GluteGuard to raise awareness for a lot of people that are living with a gluten-free diet, and that stress of going out to restaurants or being away from home and constantly concerned about whether or not you're going to have a really painful and upsetting experience. Tell us about why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of us out there. 1 in 4 Australians living with a gluten-free diet, which is a lot more common than I actually realised. GluteGuard is the only clinically proven product you can get that is shown to protect against the symptoms of accidental gluten ingestion. I think for a lot of people out there that are gluten-free, it means they can live without the stress of the symptoms of gluten and go out with their friends, go on holidays, go travelling, in my case, train the best that I can without the worry of gluten interfering with my life.
It's a great message to pass on to people. I know you're incredibly goal-focused and driven, and World Championships are coming up. Is there ever a moment where you think, "Whoa, this is getting hard," or do you still love it?
There are always days where you kind of wish you could roll back over and go back to sleep. But no, still love it. I still have the passion for it, and people have actually asked me, like, you've achieved everything on paper that you would have ever wanted to achieve in your sport. Like, why are you still swimming? Well, I just feel within myself that I have more to give. I come from a town of 90,000 people down in Tassie, and now I'm here living this incredible life and swimming on the world stage. So I think it's just cool to see kids grow up with a dream and know that they can actually do that too if they work for it.